Hey everyone, welcome back to another 31-minute podcast. Good morning, Jordan.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jaxson.
We're back.
So we're going to put a bit of the oil in, a bit rusty.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, Jackson's had a few weeks off. How's your leg?
Good. I went into the hospital yesterday to get the rest of the staples out, and I wasn't expecting him to say anything about training and kind of getting back into it. And he goes, I didn't mention it at all, and he goes, you need to get back in the gym. And inside I was like, yeah! So it's like, he goes, in a week. And I was like, okay. But
that's good.
Does everybody
I thought
know?
It was going to be a few months.
Yeah, me too.
Does everybody know what happened?
No, not really. I got a plate taken out of my knee from a previous surgery, so I could train legs a bit better.
The plate was like his whole, like half his leg, so it wasn't just like a...
Yeah, and it was in there for a long time, and they were like, yeah, we'll take it out. And they left some screws in because my bone grew around the screws, and they're like, oh, it's going to be a longer recovery time. It should be fine, whatever. And I was walking the dogs one day, and halfway through I went, oh, and couldn't walk anymore. I had to like hop home, went to hospital. Like they were like, oh, gave me some morphine and endone and whatever, and they were like, yeah, you should be right, go home. The next day I was shooting Dad at one of the houses, and I was like fully like, couldn't walk around anywhere. And I came home and I was like crying in my room because of how bad the pain was. And I texted Dad and Tara. I was like, I think I might need to go to hospital. They're like, oh yeah, well, like we'll see how you go. It should be right. Just rest it for a bit. And I was like, and it just got worse. So I got dropped to the hospital, wheeled right in, and the doctors like took one look and they were like pushed me through to the CT line, got me into the get a CT scan, and I come out and she goes, you're going to need surgery or you're going to lose your leg. And I went, what? What? Dad had no idea at this
I thought
point.
he was faking a bit.
Yeah.
I thought he wanted more painkillers. I'm not joking.
Yeah, and then
he's not adverse to a bit of addiction, the old Jaxson.
And then I texted Dad pretty much and just goes, yeah, going into emergency surgery, I'll let you know how I go. I just got wheeled straight in.
So did the screw clip an artery?
Yeah, it was sticking through, and so it like nicked an artery and was internally bleeding under my legs. So when that happens, your muscle pretty much has a time limit to where it dies and they can't do anything. So I had my first surgery at 4 o'clock or something, and then came out at about midnight, and then they were like, who you got to call? I was like, call my dad, tell him. And they called Dad, pretty much told him what was going on, and Dad was like, obviously, like, whoa, like that's pretty crazy. And then I went back in for a second surgery. I don't know what they did, but the massive scar.
No, the first one didn't work.
Yeah. Oh no, they said before I was meant to have 2 surgeries.
Sort of. I was talking to the doctors, and then he was like, the first one was not as successful as they thought, so they had to go back in and try and they said if they didn't get it on the second one, they'd have to take his leg off.
Yeah, it would be like at the hip. So I was, because the nurse was like, I was like, oh, it'd be funny having a little stump, and she goes, mate, you wouldn't have had a stump, you would have had nothing. Like they would have cut it off at the hip. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's pretty.
Full pirate leg.
Yeah, pretty intense. And then I was in there for a week in hospital, couldn't move, and had blood drains coming out and a vacuum seal on my leg, and then came out after a week, and then went back and got half the staples out. And then yesterday I got the rest of the staples out, and it's looking good.
Yeah, because when he had his first surgery, to get the plate out, I had a box of Oxycontin in the wardrobe, and Jaxson was saying, oh, you know, it's hurting and things, and I'm like, well, just take these, and then because we've got like a few different things, I don't know, from surgeries or things over time, and then about 2 days later or 3 days later, we're walking along the waterfront down here, and Tara goes, I reckon you need to get that box of things off Jaxson because I know what he's like. And I rang him up, and he's had like the whole box. He's like, pretty much, and I'm like, wait, you couldn't have, like it's like 50 tablets or something. He's like, yeah, there's only a couple left. And I was like, no, we asked for more or something. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, I was like, you leave that box on the front door and don't touch anything again. So when he said he wanted to go back to hospital, I'm like, is he trying to get more drugs? Little ferret. Yeah.
No, my leg was just about to be amputated, that's all.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's looking good now.
I'm glad you're back. So we're back in business.
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
How are you going?
I'm good.
Good. Anything you want to talk about today? I've got a couple of topics.
No, you just go. I'll just run with it. Yeah.
I was watching Jesse Itzler. Have you ever seen him?
No.
This guy, Jesse Itzler.
Once or twice.
He's good. So his wife is Sarah Blakely, the billionaire. She made Spanx.
Okay.
And he's like full endurance guy, full like he's a bit of a mad guy. He's a bit crazy, but he's really good. He's just so authentic.
Is he the guy that did the coconut water company with
sold to Coke and stuff?
Yeah, who did he do it with? Matthew McConaughey or someone? No, it was Matt Damon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know who it is.
But he's like quite famous, but he's just like a normal guy, and he just loves his ice bars and he's running and stuff. Anyway, he said something on a video yesterday which really resonated with me. And he says he never thinks about the how, like ever. He just has an idea and does it. Have you seen his big calendar?
No.
Got this big calendar. It's like he's borderline. He's a little bit like, I guess, how I think. Like, you have an idea, just do it. And that's probably why I resonated with it. But he's got this big calendar. I bought it a while ago, a couple of years back. Yeah. But it's so big, I don't know where you'd put it. Like, it's this fold-out thing that goes like, it'd be half this garage wall.
But what's it for?
It's his calendar for the year. So he can write on it up front. So he schedules all his personal time, then schedules other events and things like this. It's called the big calendar.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but it's like...
So did you ever use it?
It's so impractical. No, it's too big. Like, what do you put there? Like,
what would it go on that, almost that whole wall?
It would probably go on that garage wall sort of thing there. Like, and it's so big. I pulled it out. I'm like, where am I even? It's way too big for a fridge. And I'm like, it's a good idea, but like totally impractical.
I used it. You gave that one to me.
Yeah, I did.
It was massive.
I bought you one too.
Yeah.
As if you would ever use it for personal time.
Yeah.
It's good though. When you walk in, it's like, because that's when I went sober after like 2 years ago or something. And it was like, it was on my entire
2 weeks ago.
And I was like on my entire wall. And I was like, you'd wake up every day and look at it. And it's like this big thing. You're like, whoa, okay, boom, cross the next day off. It's a good idea.
Yeah, it is. And I think different things at different times like are appealing. I used to have a whiteboard right at the end of my bed. Like when I was with Shelley back then, that would have been, Jaxson would have been 5 or something. And then I used to have a whiteboard right at the end of the bed with all my goals written on it and things. And I used to lay in bed listening to Esther Hicks with a Walkman, a Discman every night. And she'd be like, why are you doing this? And I'd be like, I'm just programming my mind. Leave me alone. Like, so I'd wake up. So different things at different times. But I like how he said, if you really think about it, you probably wouldn't do it with most things. You know, like people quite often message us and say, oh, what about this and what about that? Part of the thing is just doing it. Like just actually doing it. Whether it's getting fitter or whether it's money or whatever, or you have an idea, following it. Like the 31-minute thing for us, like it takes so much work. Like I was living this thing and then it's like, okay, well and other people were resonating with it. But I'm like, looking back now, I'm like, if I actually really knew how much work it would do, I wouldn't have bothered. Like I would have just kept doing this podcast and living life. I didn't need to do it. But it's like, you sort of just get a bit of momentum around it and then off you go. And then you like start it. It's the momentum part that's hard. Because you get to a point that you're like, well, you text me last night about Roger Federer, you know, and my career. If I even, not me, I'm not comparing myself to Roger Federer, but you said that's a bit like you. I lived everything to get to number one, and then I did and maintained it, and then it's done, and then what do you do then? That's it. You know, it's like, okay, great, but it takes you 20-something years to do it. If you really thought about the journey and the cost and all that sort of stuff, you probably wouldn't start. And I like that. You know, I like it. He doesn't think about it too much. If it feels right inside, he just does it. It's something with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just something with the bravery around that. Just, and I think sometimes you got to sit on the impulse a little bit, not just be bouncing around the world like, oh, I'm going to do this today and that today. Like, I don't think that's a great foundation for success either. But it's like, I feel like I need to go this way. It takes a lot to say, I'm just going to do it and I'll make life work around it.
Yeah, and once you start, it's like almost it's started. Like you can't go back on it. It's actually getting it started that's the hardest part.
It is.
That's why, like when people do, oh, I'm going on a 10-week challenge in 4 weeks, I find that weird.
Yeah.
Because it gives you too much time to talk yourself out of it.
It does.
But I feel like I'm just doing it right now. That's it. It's done.
Yeah. It's like when I gave up surfing, like I told you, I've said it on another podcast, but I just stood there on the beach one day and I'm like, I can't do body training and surfing well together, so I'm just going to give up surfing. Boom, done, never surfed again. You know, like it was, I loved it, but I had to sort of make a choice. There's something about, and I guess that's what he's saying. If you combine him and Esther Hicks, he's saying, make the choice and line up with it.
But do you think that the prompt has to be screaming at you loud enough so you're not just jumping at every single, because Because there are those people that you look at and you go, every single time you look at them, they're doing something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to just work at this thing until something happens. They do a month here and 2 months there and 3 months there, and then they're there and then they're there.
I saw a post the other day that said, someone else's success looks easy until you try and do it. Because you know how you like, even the online space. So the online space for me, like I've got a friend, Dane, who's a very successful online business. He trains PTs, and you look at his business, you know, tens of millions of dollars, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. You just put things up, and it's like, that's pretty good, isn't it? He works on his balcony most of the time, and mate, what a hard business that is, like the online stuff. Like since being like creating the 31-minute thing, you know, like doing it, you're like, wow, this like is so much work, like so much, like to even understand how the whole new world works. And I think what you were saying before, there's a lot of power staying in your lane. And then, because think about real estate, I've stayed in that lane for a really long time, like real long time. I think that's why it's important to do something you want to do. There's been many opportunities that I've said no to along the way, right or wrong, but it's like pick something you really want to do and then just be all in and stay there. And Steve texted me yesterday and said, Tom, you know, Tom Bailey, Impact Theory, the guy that sold Quest.
Okay.
You know, well, he made Quest bars and he sold it for $1 billion. But he said people quite often give up because they get to a point they don't have the skills. Like it's sort of like, this is real hard. Like I don't know what else to do here. I don't have the right people. They quite often give up at that point or contract. He said, but you got to picture yourself in 5 years' time. In 5 years' time, all the skills you've learnt in that time will be the right thing to push the company further.
Did you ever think about giving up?
Real estate?
Well, was there any times where you were like, I can't do this anymore?
No. Well, only because I was buggered. Yes, once. Yeah, I said to Jamie, I'm just not selling houses anymore. Like, I'm just going to blog. And I just sat and blogged for like 10 months.
But what got you to that?
Oh, I think I was always interested in the online space in general.
But like, how do you go from, see, now that I've started, I can't stop. Like, I talk about it like it's like you've pushed a boulder down a hill and you're running it, it's trying to clip you because you've got all these properties, you got this much money coming out every month, you've got listings, and then your career's building. It's like I couldn't imagine just going, I'm not doing anything for 6 months and then having to build all the momentum again. Like, so it must have been you must have got yourself to such a place where you just didn't care. Like,
pretty much.
Yeah.
I built this business with Jamie.
When was that?
Like, it was quite a few years ago now.
Not the GFC?
Maybe just after.
Right.
And it was like, I was just buggered. Like literally, I can't take one more call about someone wanting this because their houses weren't selling. I think back then it was just real hard, and I worked through that. And I was like, because I didn't know how to actually structure my time and keep my energy good. That's the difference between me today and then. Like today, I can run 1,000,000 miles an hour because I have a routine which manages and protects my energy, which I didn't have before.
So what was it before?
All in, just all in, run as fast as you can from the second you get up, do nothing else. Yeah, you understand what that's like.
So no gym, no
nothing.
Like literally wake up.
I didn't have it, no, nothing, not one thing. Church on Sunday, but even then you weren't allowed to spend money. You weren't allowed to. You had to fast once a month. You had to, do all this stuff. And I was just like, had all these young kids, and I was driving me nuts. And I was like, just in this pressure cooker, and I was just like, I can't do this now. I just can't.
How many years was that? About 10?
What's that?
Was that about 10 years before it got to that point? Or longer? Maybe longer.
About 28 years now. So, yeah, maybe longer. Yeah, maybe 12 years or something like that. But it was like non-stop relentless. That's why managing how you feel is so important. Like I probably should have just...
So if you were back then now, knowing what you know now, what would you have done different?
Taking care of myself, I reckon. Taking care of myself. Worked real hard because you've got to push. Like you have to stretch every time. But I think I stretched to the point where I broke rather than, like every day. Like maybe not understanding what I needed to do every day either. Like what do you need to get out of today? That's why I'm always talking about with you. Like what is an ideal day? What does a 10 out of 10 day look like? Back then I used to be like trying to do ideal weeks and have all these systems and too much everywhere, tasks, and like you get in, there's 230 tasks to do, and it's like, it was just like you're saying, just snowball, and I was in it just going, far out, stop. And I was like, and the pressure of success as well, the pressure that everyone's like expects you to be really successful, and the guy making heaps of sales and going crazy.
Because you were that in the business when it was a young business.
It was.
Like now the company has a lot of great agents.
Yeah.
Like if you decided to not do anything tomorrow, yes, there'd be a big chunk that would come out of the business, but there'd be a lot of successful agents still running independently.
There would.
Yeah. But back then it was what, you and Steve Dudley.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But it's your energy tank inside. I just had nothing left inside. I didn't know what to do with it. That's why when I talk now, it's all from experience.
So would you have done, wake up, what you talk about now, find your morning routine, like do things that you love in the morning, fill your tank, know what you need to get out of the day, as in like, I need to make this many calls, I need to do this many buyer appointments, I need to do this many market opinions, and then try and get out of the office at a time that enthuses you.
Yeah.
Like a stretch time, not like 5 o'clock, like maybe 7:30.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to like be in love with what you're doing a little bit. And I know people say love what you do, but you got to be a bit in love with the process, not the results so much. Like you got to be a bit in love with, so if you go in every day and you got to give energy to people, you got to have energy to give. Like that's our business. Like think about your day yesterday. Like how many people do you speak to and reassure them that everything's going to be all right?
Yeah.
How many?
You called me straight after the meeting and said, I can feel your energy's going sideways.
Yeah, that's
you need
right.
to get under control.
That's right. Actually, I did. And I walked out of the office at 10 o'clock, and I was driving along and I thought George's energy is going from pumped to overwhelmed. I can see it. So I rang you. I don't know what I say to you.
You said to me exactly that. I can see it in your eyes that your energy's changing this week, because there's been a lot of real wrestles.
Yeah.
In our business, especially people that I'm dealing with at the moment. And
you've got a lot of difficult clients right now.
I'm dreaming about it now again. And I know that that's when it starts to become an issue. I'm losing track of, did I have that conversation in my dream or did I have that conversation in real life? Because I can't even remember what's going on, which is weird. It's such a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
Like I actually said to it only yesterday, I commented on a conversation, but I never had it. I had that conversation with them in my dream. Is that bizarre?
I totally
understand.
Because I'm like
completely consumed my whole life.
Yeah.
But it'll be okay. You get those clients sold and all that sort of stuff. It's just people that you care about sometimes. But yeah.
Yeah, well, you want it to go well. You want everyone to have a good experience. And the weight gets heavy sometimes when you got lots of them and things aren't selling as quickly as they could. To,
I think you said to me, you said focus on. You asked me about a couple of good results recently, and I told you about them. And you said focus on those results. How does that make you feel? And that starts to change your energy a bit. And you said just don't worry about anything, like about any of the results. Just do and say what you feel that you need to do. If you lose listings, don't worry about it. If sales fall over, don't worry about it. If they come together, great. If they don't come together, doesn't matter. Just keep focusing on the good things and just keep doing what you need to do without getting drawn into any of that energy.
That's the key.
Yeah.
So, yeah, quite often when we try and work out the result, like even taking score to get to the result or manufacturing it in our mind, we're quite often pushing it away because we're looking at the absence of it. It's not there. So even though we might be like, oh, I've got that happens, this happens, we're actually changing the vibration, because the vibration of the result is like think about when it happens. Think about the sold sign goes on. How does that feel?
Best.
Yeah. Think about when you're trying to conjure up in your mind the path of the buyer getting to the sold sign.
Yeah.
It's way different. It's like an anxious, I need it sort of thing. So I always just picture the sold sign on. Like that's all I focus on, the sold sign on. But even more powerful than that, think about, like I said to you yesterday, just stop even trying to work out where all these people are at and what's happening. Just focus on a result. I said to you, what was the result that happened recently that made you feel good? Pick one. And what was it?
I said 69 pickets.
69 pickets. Okay, so the price wasn't that great there, but the sold sign was, the sold sign's on, you got it, the owner's happy. He said it was the right result. So I said, just focus on that. You can take that with you for the next year, that feeling of it. See how it's so different? Whereas we go to work every day making calls, looking for the person that's going to do something, when we've got to first be the vibration of the result that has done something. It's so different, you know? So anyway, back to the think about the how. It's like just making a decision and going for it. I think that is half the battle. We have a friend that's getting into the filming world and stuff, but he's like, he like maps everything out and stuff. I totally understand all of that. Whereas, you know, he's been wanting to write a book, and I've just written 2 because I just do it. Like I just like, okay, well today I'm going to write a chapter, and every day I'm going to write a chapter. You know, they're only short books, they're only like quick reads. But if I sat there and thought, oh, I wonder how the book's going to be received, and I wonder what's in chapter 15, and I wonder what's I just wouldn't do it. You know, like you just...
It overwhelms you.
Even the ice baths. Ice baths are a good example. I have an ice bath every morning and every night. You know now, after it's been like 6 months, year or something, whatever it's been, I like cold more than I do hot now. So if I have a hot shower, I actually feel a bit gross. And then I have a cold shower at the end, even though I've just had an ice bath before it. The coldness is what I crave now. Isn't it funny how you change? Like... Whereas before I'd be sitting in the ice bath like counting down the seconds to get out of there because I'm like, I just want to get out of this thing. Now it gets to 7, 8, 10 minutes and it's literally not enough now. Like I just could stay in there for half an hour and I can't wait to get in. But sometimes at night I don't feel like it. Like I'm sitting there, Tara, we've had dinner, like fireplace is on, and I actually have to make myself a little bit get over that thing to do it. But every single time, I'm like, you get in and I'm like, I love this so much. It's funny how you train yourself to...
So do you have to make it, when that thought starts to come in, do you go straight away?
No.
No, you still do the back and forward battle.
A little bit, like I sort of line up with it a bit more. Like I make sure, because you've got to be a bit present when you're doing stuff. Like you've got to be a bit like, I never do it rushed. Like I never do it like... I'll quickly get it in here or something like that. I'd like make sure everything feels good, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll do it now. Like it's just you still got to make yourself a little bit, but yeah, I'll do it now. And then you can sit out there, and it's so funny how quick the time goes now. Like so quick, it doesn't even feel cold.
Do you sit there and just
close my eyes?
Yeah,
wait for the timer to go off. But I'm like away in my mind thinking about other things. So good, the best. But it's funny how you train yourself to do that. So like if people are finding things a little difficult, that's like the gym and fitness and stuff. It's people like drop off because it's like, I don't know, they get a bit, they lose, I don't know if they lose interest or something, but you got to be like ruthless with how does your daily structure look like? Like this morning before we've done this, I've already done ice bath, breathing, oysters, pods, minerals and things like that. Now this, then I'll go to work. Like how good can you feel? I can't feel any better. Oh, I've done cardio as well. I forgot watching Esther Hicks for 45 minutes, cardio here.
On the TV?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the best, you know? So it's like, you got to be ruthless with your structure if you want to feel good. Because what happens is life takes over like it was with me before. Life just took over and I just had nothing. I just felt like I was in this whole windmill of crazy, couldn't do anything for myself. You know, not that I wasn't thinking, oh, I want to do this for myself, but I was just caught up in this momentum like you were yesterday. Got one more topic. Want to talk about that?
Yeah, of course.
Gary Brecka this morning said, aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. Aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. Isn't it funny? People say so much, I always have Botox. I don't have any Botox. I've never had Botox. I've had fillers in my cheeks twice here. About 4 years ago I had one, and about 2 years ago, all it did is make lumps on my cheekbones, really. That's all it did. I don't think it did anything. But it's like I've never had Botox. But isn't it funny that people will run off and go stick chemicals in their face? I'm not saying like everyone, so many people get Botox. Nothing wrong with it. Go do that. But if you listen to Gary Brecka, I don't know if you know much about Gary, do you?
Bits and pieces. He's the guy that the biologist that is working with Dana White. Yeah,
that's it. He was a scientist, worked for an insurance company. He could predict within a few years or a few months or something of how long you're going to live. So he was the guy, if you come for life insurance, he would assess how long you were going to live and tell them whether they'd insure you or not.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So based on the oxygen in your blood, or one of the things. There's a few markers. One of them is oxygen in your blood. So he left that because he didn't want to be in the corporate world, and then now he does 10x Health.
I like that he switched from predicting when people are going to die to helping people live longer.
That's what he said. Yeah, he said, I want to help people. I just want to tell people when they're going to die. Now I want to help people because I know what's going on in their body. And he goes, his saying is, aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. Think about that. When he said that, I actually thought about grandmas. Like Tara has a grandma, just sits at home most of the day watching TV. Yeah?
Yeah.
I had that, same thing. Think about the grandmas or grandpas, whatever, they just sit in a thing most of the day. And before I even heard any of this, I used to think, I wonder why they don't just go walking and go to the gym and like see what they can do at 75. You know, like what can you do? Like it'd be, rather than just sit there and eat your butterscotch biscuits and things like that, like what would be possible just by pushing yourself? The body's a pretty amazing instrument, and it only responds to what you do to it. So he was saying the only way to make it grow is to put it under pressure. The only way to, and that's whether you're breathing, like doing your breath work, or your ice baths, so hot and cold discomfort is one of the best things you can do for your body. Hot saunas, cold ice baths. Want your muscles to grow, you have to put them under stress. So think about that. What happens in the comfort zone? Complacency.
Nothing, really.
Complacency. You know, like it. So it resonated with me because the next 10 years, I'm like, well, what can I do with my body? What can I do with work? What can I do with? And it only comes down to like getting this. And he talks about blood sugar levels. And when the blood sugar spikes too high and spikes too low, that's not good. He said you want to keep it like a rolling sort of landscape, not like a heartbeat. And I think that's the key. That's the key to everything. So you want to go like today, you want to push yourself. What does a 10 out of 10 day look like for you? It's not go for it. Like I don't run, but why would I go for a 20 kilometre run? Never done an ice bath before. Why would I try and sit there for 10 minutes?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do 25 seconds.
Yeah.
And then see it over a long period of time that every day you're going to do 5 seconds extra. That's all. That's what I did. 5 seconds extra. But the oxygen in your blood, how do you get more in it? Like that. Sorry to breathe on you, but like do that 3 times, 3 sessions. I do 40 breaths per session. If that's going to save your life and make you healthier, why wouldn't you do that once a day or even twice a day? But people will sit there and watch Beverly Hills Housewives for an hour and a half on the lounge eating mint chocolate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're happy to do that because it's relaxing, it's easy, it's nice. But what about getting in a sauna? So I watched another thing. I watch a lot of videos, but I watched another thing. If you have a man has 3 saunas a week. I don't know if it's men or everyone. 3 saunas a week. You reduce your chance of a heart attack by 35% or something like that. 5 saunas a week, 50% reduction. So would you rather watch TV for an hour or go for a sauna to potentially prolong your life and look better? It does so much amazing things for you. And then get in an ice bath for 5 minutes. You only need 3 to 6 minutes. You don't need more than that. 3 to 6 minutes, and learn how to get there and make that part of your daily thing. Or would you rather watch Beverly Hills Housewives?
So do you think things should change so you're a million times more focused on your fitness than I am.
Yeah.
But I'll get up at 4:30 and go into the office at 5 and leave at 7 o'clock at night. But then I don't feel like training or doing anything like that But that enthuses me. But I probably don't need to, or do you think I probably don't need to run my body like you do I have to dedicate that more of that time to building a business because there's time in a season.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Like really, really, really good question.
Because I'm not leaving the office at 6 o'clock to get in an ice bath. I'm stretching that extra 2 hours, sitting there calling people when I don't feel like it. So it's like I'm putting my body under more pressure and stress, but in a different way. I still go exercise and I play golf, but it's not as much.
Yeah.
And I'm not measuring meals because it takes time. I'm like tuna and rice. Okay, well that's the best I can do. It's reasonably healthy. I don't know what it's. I'm not eating pizzas and
healthy.
things like or whatever. Chicken
it's
and rice,
not healthy.
steak and
it
rice.
might be healthy for your waistline.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
All I think about all day, every day is where's the next listing? Where's the next sale? Who do I need to be speaking to? Did I hit my KPIs? And then everything else comes second.
Let me give you the Jordan Bulmer recipe that I think you should adopt where you're up to now in life. And it's a great point what you bring up because you can only give so much energy. If you've got 15 hours energy to give to something in the day, you can only give it to, one, what you're passionate about. That's the number one rule. Give it to what you're passionate about. Two, you've only got so much to give. So I would say the Jordan Bulmer recipe for a 28-year-old, are you 29 yet?
A couple of months.
Oh, yeah, so 28-year-old business, what would you call it, phenomenon. You have to earn your stripes, right? Which you are. So you spent 7 years with me getting here now, or whatever it is around that. And then, so I would say 3 days a week has to be, you're going to get discomfort with your fitness somehow. So whether that's gym, sauna, ice bath, I do all of it. I do all three. 3 days a week, that's all. You can do that. But you go to jiu-jitsu and boxing and
so at the moment, I don't. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are the busiest days where I've got the most appointments. I go wake straight up, work the entire day, no training. Tuesday, wake up in the whole day. Same with Wednesday. Then Thursday morning I box, Friday morning I box, and then Saturday mornings I do jiu-jitsu. But sometimes I'll do a night if I feel like it. But it's just if it pops up. And then Sunday it's golf. But that's pretty much what it is at the moment. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are the big days. It's probably like 15 hours.
Depends what your goals are as well.
Yeah.
Like if I was in your position, I'd be dropping one of them and I'd be doing weights somewhere. Like you got to do resistance training. It's just so good for you. But that's up to you. Don't just do it because I'm saying. But I would do resistance training somewhere there and I'd start doing ice bath and sauna somewhere. They're invaluable for long-term health. That's what I would do. And then in the days, I'd have an acute, I don't think you prospect hard enough. You don't. You say you want to be a phenomenal business person, but you don't prospect anywhere near hard enough. You don't. You're like a bit lazy at it.
Yeah, but that's comparing.
No,
comparing yourself to me.
No, you can't talk to me about work because I know your work goals.
But the results don't say that.
Yeah, they do. Don't sit there all smug and arrogant. That's ridiculous. Be humble. You don't prospect hard enough.
I could prospect harder for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't. I'm saying you don't. Instead of fighting with me like you always do, why don't you just go, okay, cool. All right, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Yep. So you don't stick to your clear KPIs every day prospecting. That's the difference between you and me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would do that. And I would go 15 calls, whatever, non-negotiable 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Or do an ox or something. Because you want to build market share. It doesn't mean it matter about getting results. We're talking about consistent long-term business. It's the only way to do it. I've been in real estate for a little while. I sort of understand what I'm talking about.
I know.
That's one part where I would say the Jordan Bulmer system isn't quite strong enough yet. And then you've got to identify what is your ideal buyer appointment, market opinion appointments look like every day? Is it 3? Is it 4? Like I'd be really acutely aware of that and I'd build each day. Because I think you do a lot of appointments, but they're like almost what comes sort of. Like it's sort of like you might have 6 one day, none another day. Whereas I would be like, I've got to do a buyer appointment every single day. I've got to do a market opinion every single day. And I would go out and source those. Yeah, so the consistency is that.
Yep.
So I would have a real understanding of that. You sort of do, but you sort of don't as well. Like you get busy and you like, whereas I'd guard that like nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then your vendor management is very good. It's 10 out of 10. You don't need any help there. And then your nutrition is probably like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I would, if I were in your position, I'd be like, how do I get my gut health to a 10 out of 10? How do I get my mineral position to a 10 out of 10? How do I get my breathing and oxygen 10 out of 10? Then I think you've got an unbeatable system. I genuinely feel that. Like, you're so close to it, it's not funny. Few little tweaks would literally set you up forever, and you get to 45 and be pumping that hard and so healthy, and instead of getting to 45 or 40 and go, okay, now I need to do something a bit more about my health.
Yeah.
It's the small little chunks every day that I think is really important. And the 3 days a week with not, I'd still try to go for a walk or something on those other days, do something. I don't think working every day, all day, 3 days a week is great, but I definitely go push myself hard 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to get you to drop jiu-jitsu or boxing one day. I don't know what it is, but one of them, because I do think resistance training is.
I just don't enjoy it.
No, I know.
So I can't enthuse myself to do it.
I understand.
So
It'll come at some point.
I just choose things that I actually enjoy.
Yeah, and that's number one.
Because then I don't go, I'm going to skip it.
Yeah, no, well, that's right. When you attach something to it, we'll see. But it's a work in progress, and I think your Sundays are really good golf and relax and that sort of stuff. So, but I think that's the formula for you. Yeah, you're really, really close. But let's finish on this. I've got to go show a house in a sec.
Yep.
So the comfort zone, like, nothing good happens there, really. Think about it. What good happens in your comfort zone? People get sick of each other. Think about the sex after you have a fight. Think about it. 10 times better. Think about how you feel after you do anything that pushes yourself, whether it's prospecting calls, whether it's ice bath, where you feel fantastic, like phenomenal. We seem to contract into what's easiest sometimes. It's comfortable in the moment. Cost down the track of that is average. Real average. People, that's why with you, imagine when you're 40, if you listen to Gary Brecka and got oxygen and nutrition and all that down pat, you wouldn't need Botox. I've just started on the celery juice. Already in a week, I can sort of, you can't, but I can sort of see the difference. So imagine in 6 months' time and 12 months' time.
Why celery juice?
I was taking collagen, not for long, maybe a few months, 6 months, but she was saying how bad it is for your stomach. And it creates these bacteria in there. She's been taking celery juice for the last 3 years or something, and her skin's the best it's ever been. And another mate of mine, Justin Benoit, he rang me. He's been doing it for 6 months, and he said, mate, it's unbelievable. Just celery juice. I put a bit of lemon in there, but just celery juice. All these sunspots were disappearing. His skin was getting so much nicer. And even Tara said, had an ice bath. She goes, your skin's so much smoother. All of these little hacks. So what's the next thing? And is it a hassle going and getting organic celery and juicing it up every day? Yeah, it's a friggin' hassle because I've already got enough going on in my life. What are you prepared to do to see the result in the next couple of years? Like, that's the question. You have a problem with prospecting because we're busy, mate. If you were sitting there in an office somewhere with nothing going on, I bet you'd be prospecting. I bet you'd be knocking on doors. Fat cat syndrome. Poppy is a classic example. Our dog, she gets fed way too much. She never eats a dinner. But I had a German Shepherd growing up, got fed 1 can every day at night. That's it. It would bite your hand off. It would go near its plate. It's like want to attack you. You know, it's like, because it's like, that's everything to it. So that's the difference. So from this moment, where is your comfort levels too high, and where can we change it to get uncomfortable for bigger results? That's the question.